guys, Jay here. Welcome to Miles Memories Weekly, episode 273. Miles Memories is a show about nothing and is filmed in front of a live studio audience. This is a show where we're talking about painting, modeling, and working experiences from the week. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Jay, you put out 3 DVDs a week. How? Could I possibly have more to say? Well, I do, and here goes. This week, Games Workshop showed off some brand new detachments for the Black Templars. Now, we did lose one of our detachments. We lost our Grotsmas detachment. And that's kind of fine. It wasn't very good. I played it once. It had one kind of cute trick where you could give all of your infantry models +1 movement. It's fine. So +1 or +2? It wasn't very exciting, so I feel like it was +1. And all of the stratagems were really bad. It was one of those detachments that had, you can give your melee attacks precision, although that would be slightly better in 11th edition than it was in 10th edition. I'm kind of fine with that detachment going to the Shadow Realm if it means I get 3 more. And these 3 new ones are part of this newfangled thing for 11th edition, 1 detachment point detachments. And so these can be attached with others. I guess since there's 3, you could run all 3 1-point detachments to give you your full 3 detachment point limit. Otherwise, all Black Templar detachments are 2 detachment points. And Bastion Task Force, which is kind of the premier detachment to be taken with Black Templars, is also a 2, and so there's definitely something juicy there. The Gladius detachment that I've been running with my Black Templars is 3 detachment points. That one's really, really good, arguably overpowered, and so that's why you're not allowed to sneak in any of these other detachment abilities with Gladius. A little bit of a shame because running Gladius Black Templars, it doesn't feel like we're overpowered. Like we can't do all of the crazy stuff that like Ultramarines can do in Gladius Task Force, but it's fine, everything's fine. We got some new rules. Black Templar in 10th edition have definitely been languishing a little since our codex came out. We got 3 detachments in the codex, and they're all really bad. One of them is built around the Execrator model, essentially Chaplain models, and it's probably the best one out of the book. It's okay. Chaplains have weird anti-synergy with the Black Templars because of our Templar vows. We can take we can take 1 of 4 vows at the start of a game. One of them is +1 to wound most of the time, which is crazy, ridiculously good. One of them is a psyker thing nobody cares about. The third one is fallback and charge, which is really, really good and essentially turns us into pseudo Emperor's Children. Usually that one's very, very good, but usually not as good as just +1 to wound. And the last one is sticky objectives on infantry. Also a very good rule, but I'm a Black Templars player. I like to kill, maim, burn. I like to stab things in close combat. I don't want to be winning on like tricksy objective control. I want to be just slaying my opponents. So the +1 to wound one is almost always the one to take. The Chaplain detachment is a little bit interesting and it's got some good enhancements. The other 2 detachments that came in the Black Templar Codex, one of them, Godhammer Assault Force, was +1 to attack if you hopped out of a Land Raider this turn. It's okay, Land Raiders aren't that good, and the Black Templar specific Land Raider, the Land Raider Crusader, is especially bad. And then the 3rd detachment from the Black Templars Codex was all about the Banner Bearer, the Crusade Ancient, maybe one of the worst models in 40k, and so just no point to taking it at all. But maybe those detachments can all be salvaged with these new 1-point detachments. Starting with Marshall's Household. This one is built all around the preeminent Black Templar unit, the Sword Brethren Squad. Sword Bros are incredible. I love them. I have 25 of them, which is not nearly enough. I would like to have 30, and potentially a little bit more because they all come with mastercrafted power weapons, which are phenomenal. They're lethal hits and 3 attacks, lethal hits, 2/2, strength 5, AP -2, damage 2. They're lovely. They love to be in close combat. Their special ability is kind of nothing. If something falls back from them, then they get to make a free normal move. That's pretty solid, but usually when I tell my opponents I can do that, they're just like, okay, then I just won't fall back. And I think I've gotten to use that ability once in all of the games that I've played, but I love Sword Brethren. They're so cool. They can attach to almost anything in the Black Templar Codex or just vanilla Space Marines. They're really, really good, and this is to make them better. The detachment ability that this gives is friendly Sword Brethren squads get +1 to objective control. Sure, that is a number on their datasheet that can be changed. A +1 to objective control, so they go from objective control 1 to objective control 2 per guy. There's something there. Usually my Sword Brethren are not the ones camping objectives. In fact, they kind of never are. It's probably as beneficial as changing like the name on the data sheet as opposed to changing any of the numbers. Like if they got +1 to their leadership or +1 strength, like any other change would have been better, but sure, +1 to objective control is fine. That can exist. Looking at the enhancements, Sword Brethren squad can get +1 to charge rolls. That's very solid. That's decent. It's fine. It's not the most crazy intense thing, and there's a bunch of different characters that I can attach to a Sword Brethren squad to get better like advance in charge or benefits to my charging abilities in general, but that's kind of fine. +1 to charge rolls is really nice because if I fail a really close charge, I needed a 7 but I got a 6, this would help me out without needing to spend a command point in order to re-roll it to try to get the charge off. So that's perfectly fine. Then there is the Inheritors of Sigismund. Sword Brethren squads have Fight First. Fights First is not as spooky in 11th edition as it was in 10th edition, but that's fine. That is also an ability. Now moving on to the stratagems. Slayers of Abomination. Sword Brethren squad, when targeting a monster or vehicle, get +2 strength. Now that is very good. Sword Brethren, they're very, very good at slicing and dicing infantry, but they do struggle typically only hitting on 6s against vehicles, like strength 10 and above vehicles. And so this would bump them up from 5 to 7, which means that they're hitting Rogel Dorns on 5s and 6s instead of just 6s. And then with my Templar Righteous Vow giving me +1 to wound, I would be wounding strength 10 and above on 4s. So that is actually a really, really good 1 CP enhancement. A tiny bit situational because I would have had to throw my guys into Rogel Dorns, but I do like to throw my guys into Rogel Dorns. I hate those things, and so this would just give me a huge leg up on actually being able to injure stuff like that. There's another stratagem, Blades of Detestation. Select one enemy unit engaged, roll a d6 for each model your unit that's engaged with that enemy unit. For each 4-up, they suffer 1 mortal wound. I guess that's fine. That is gonna average out to about 2 mortal wounds. Is 1 command point worth 2 mortal wounds? Because Sword Bros also have grenades, which averages 3 mortal wounds. But is grenades a shooting attack? So would that turn off my like pseudo stealth with 11th edition? I probably wouldn't do that. Typical Sword Bro squad is only 5 guys, so it'd be 5 dice looking for 4-ups, which is on average is gonna be like 2.5. Probably when I'm rolling closer to 1 or 2 than it is 3 or 4. It's a stratagem. And then Unsparing Execution. If enemies make a fallback move, they have to make a Desperate Escape check with an extra -1 to their hazard rolls. If that enemy unit is battle shocked. Really? If that enemy unit is battle shocked? That seems really lame. Probably wouldn't spend the CP on that. That's not super exciting. I already get to make a free fallback move if the enemy falls back, then I get to make a free normal move. Well, the first one was really, really good. Getting benefits to attacks against monsters and vehicles. Again, this would just be in addition to everything that I was doing normally because this is a 1 detachment point attachment, and all of the detachments that I have been running in 10th edition now only cost 2. So this would be an ability in addition to whatever else I had. So it's definitely better than nothing. Marshal's Household would be tempting. Moving on to brand new detachment number 2, the Living Miracle. This is a detachment built only around the Emperor's Champion model, and you're only allowed to take 1 of those in your army. So this is an entire detachment for 1 fella, but it's pretty good. It gives Emperor's Champion reroll 1 hit roll and reroll 1 wound roll. Very, very good. Love a good reroll. I typically run my Emperor's Champion with a squad of Assault Intercessors, and they grant reroll 1s to wound and reroll the wound roll when I'm attacking enemy units that are camping an objective. So this would help. That's pretty solid. Getting to reroll wounds, getting to reroll hits. That is definitely spicy. And the enhancements are really weird. There's 6 enhancements, and I'm allowed to select up to 3 at the start of the game, and it doesn't count towards my maximum number of enhancements that I'm allowed to take in a game of 40k. So he just gets 3 free abilities. The 3 abilities that I think look really good is Instrument of the God Emperor. It gives me 1 instance of devastating wounds when I'm attacking a character unit. Now, Emperor's Champion can already get devastating wounds once per game when attacking an enemy character unit. So this essentially just gives me that again, which twice per game. That's pretty darn good. Then I can have +2 attack. That's just ridiculously solid. That's a really, really good enhancement. And there was one more that got me kind of excited. Oh yeah, Omen of Sacred Intervention. When you target this unit with the Heroic Intervention stratagem, that use costs -1 command point. So free Heroic Intervention. All in all, it's super solid. I do take Emperor's Champion in almost every single list that I run, so just making him flat better is really, really good. I would have liked to see this detachment maybe not edit his damage output so much, but maybe edit his usability in game. Like if this could give Emperor's Champion Deep Strike, that could be a really interesting way of changing the way he performs in a game of 40k, where this just makes him do the normal thing that he does, which is just to be an excellent character unit. It just makes him an even better character unit. Oh, it does make him really good though. Maybe if the Emperor's Champion is buffed this hard, essentially for free, then maybe that means I don't take Helbrecht, and that saves me 130 points plus the 150 point unit that he runs with. And I can splash out those points somewhere else because I know that I've got the Emperor's Champion holding down the fort. There's definitely something. This one is probably, I hate to say that it's more tempting than the Sword Bro detachment because I love Sword Bros. I've taken them in every game I've ever played with my Black Templar, but this is also pretty good. Then moving on to detachment number 3, Wrathful Procession. This one is the namesake of the old Grotmas detachment that we lost. This one is all about chaplains. Friendly chaplain units have a 5+ invulnerable save against ranged attacks. It's a little lame that it's only for ranged attacks. This would have been awesome in close combat because that's when you start to get into the really juicy AP -3 attacks, getting a 5+ invuln against Angron's giant chaos axe or against a Defiler's claws. That would have been kind of cool. Usually ranged attacks kind of cap out at AP -2, so I would just be saving on 5s normally. I guess there is something to Overcharge Plasma or Melta. I'm getting that 5+ invulnerable save, so it's definitely an ability. It's definitely a good ability. And there's a lot of chaplain miniatures. Every type of unit except Phobos is allowed to attach to some sort of a chaplain. There's Chaplain Terminator armor, there's Jump Pack Chaplain, there's regular chaplain, and Black Templars have our own flavor of chaplain called the Execrator, who gives advance and charge to the units that he's attached to. Although unfortunately he's only allowed attached to Sword Brethren Squad and Crusader Squad, which are both pretty darn expensive and don't love to attach to him because they like to attach to the better, more violent characters, not one that just grants us a little bit of movement shenanigan. But it is what it is. That's a pretty good ability. Then there are enhancements that I can give to chaplain units. Or actually, one of them is for chaplain models, and one of them is for Execrator only. The chaplain ability, the model's melee attacks have devastating wounds. Sure, if that enhancement is free, that'd be worth it because it's just 6 attacks hitting on 2s, strength 5, AP 1, damage 2. So chances are you roll 1 6 to wound maybe, and then that 1 gives 2 devastating wounds. That's fine. That's a little something something. And then for the Execrator models only, when this unit is selected to fight, this model's melee attacks have Cleave 1 or Precision. Both of those are very good. Cleave 1 is probably going to give him +1 or 2 attacks, and Precision, now in 11th edition, is better than it used to be. So I think both of those are pretty solid. Very, very interesting. Then there are some stratagems to go along with this detachment. Fueled by Faith. Any phase, when a chaplain unit suffers a mortal wound, your unit has a 4+ feel no pain against mortal wounds. That's okay. That's pretty good. If somebody's trying to mortal wound bomb me, then I can basically turn it off or reduce the damage by half. That's definitely not bad. When one of the units that I really hate facing is Emperor's Children, Demon Prince with Wings, because they can do what is called a belly flop. They can come in and roll a number of dice equal to the number of wounds remaining. I believe they start with 10. And so you're rolling 10 dice, and for each 4 or 5 up, you do a mortal wound. And when Sean is rolling, it's always maxes out to 6 mortal wounds. And so this would turn it from 6 mortal wounds into 3 mortal wounds. For 1 CP, it is saving me an entire sword brethren. So that's a little something. Honestly, I would do it just to see the look on Sean's face when it's like, I get to make a saving throw against these mortal wounds that you thought you were going to give me. Then there is the Castigate of Demigods. Chaplain unit. This unit's melee attacks have precision. Yeah, there's something there. Precision, because now in 11th edition, I believe you can, the precision attacks can spill off the character. They don't just go into the void after you've allocated them. So that's fine. I would probably do that every once in a while, especially if I was playing against like Sisters of Battle or Gene Stealer Cult, where they have squishier characters that are really important to the squad they're attached to. Then I can basically ensure that I drop their character who's going to be doing a bunch of nasty stuff on the swing back, just being able to wipe that out and do a little extra damage to the unit in general. That's not a bad ability. I like that. Then there is the Rites of Fervid Wrath. Chaplain unit. This unit's melee attacks have +1 strength. That is also very good. It's a little anti-synergistic with my Templar Vows of +1 to wound. +1 to wound only against units that are their toughness or their strength is greater. Their toughness is greater than my strength. So what would I be doing with this? With like a squad of jump pack intercessors with chainswords, bumping them up from strength 4 to strength 5 in order to, on the data, like in the actual math, get them to be hitting on 4s and then getting them to be hitting on 3s. That's also not bad. Wrathful Procession. I feel like to really make the most of this detachment, I would kind of have to be building around bringing a lot of chaplains. And so this might be the way to go if I really want to make chaplains work. I can give them a bunch of abilities that all trigger on chaplain models. It's a little annoying that chaplains and execrators are different units because the chaplains give the +1 to wound. And so maybe then I don't need to take the Templar Vow that gives me +1 to wound. But then if I'm mixing my chaplains and execrators, I would still like to have my execrator units with a +1 to wound. Maybe, but execrator's not allowed to attach to just regular assault intercessors. I don't know. I need to peruse this one a little bit harder and really see how this can synergize with some of the other detachments. Bastion, maybe Bastion plus this? I don't know. It's tricksy. All 3 of these detachments. Marshal's Household is probably bad. I mean, it's not bad, and it's essentially free to take, so it's just a straight up like buff to whatever I'm currently doing. But its buffs aren't that good. Then there's the Living Miracle, which is just a really funny way to make my Emperor's Champion really good. Emperor's Champion with 8 attacks with 2 instances of dev wounds on a 5-up. Like re-rolling 1 to hit, 1 to wound. Honestly, maybe this is even just like running him solo because he's just so good. He's what is he, 110 points? I don't know. The Living Miracle is also very interesting. Wrathful Procession is fine. I definitely would not be tempted to run all 3 of these. I don't think all 3 of these 1-point detachments add up to a 3-point detachment. This is some very minor buffs on some very specific things where like Bastion Task Force or Gladius Task Force gives my entire army some huge benefits to taking those detachments. These are fine. I would almost like to see some more. Although honestly, with Black Templars, I actually feel like the problem isn't so much our detachments as it is our data sheets. I think Black Templars in general are just a little bit too restrictive. Like Helbrecht, the hero of the Black Templar, is only allowed to attach to Assault Intercessors, Crusader Squads, Sword Brethren Squad, and for some reason, I think he can attach to Stern Guard Veteran. For like no reason, you would never ever do that. I think it's just because the brand new multi-part Stern Guard kit came out at the same time as the Black Templar Codex. So maybe to make that look like that kit look a little bit more attractive, they allow him to attach to them. Like there's no point to throwing Helbrecht into a bunch of bolter guys, but it's just a weird thing you can do. But if he could attach to Blade Guard veterans, that would really be some juice. But unfortunately, he is not allowed to do it. If he sees those guys with the big old shields, he's like, I cannot go stand with those guys. It is impossible. It would break the game if Helbrecht was somehow allowed to go fight with the Blade Guard veterans. And there's a bunch of little things like that with Black Templars, where like Execrator is really cheap and really good, but not good enough to attach to a Crusader squad or a Sword Brethren squad. But if I could slip them into a cheap and cheerful squad of Assault Intercessors, I feel like I would do that most games, but you're physically not allowed to do it, to try it and see what happens. Because Games Workshop said, no, not allowed. I think I really do like these 1-point attachments. It kind of gives you extra list building juice. Because typically, you just read your detachment, you see what benefits it offers you, and then you build your list around that. But now I have essentially 2 detachments to build around. And so it just is a little bit more flavor and a little bit of a different way to make my own army unique. I do want to make this Wrathful procession thing work. There's a way to do it. There's a perfect combination of chaplains and execrators and units that can all synergize to make a pretty frightening Black Templar list. I don't know if there's a way to make any of the other codex detachments work. I'm leaning towards no. The Land Raider one, maybe a little. The problem with the Land Raider one is the coolest thing about Black Templars is our Sword Brethren. Like they're our premier melee unit. If there's something in the enemy battlefield and I really want to snipe it out, they're a really great option to do it with. Unfortunately, they already hit on 2s. So if I take the Land Raider detachment and I hop them out of a Land Raider, they're not benefiting from the detachment ability. I don't know how Games Workshop, that was an oversight where the rules department just didn't notice that the detachment ability almost does nothing. You could just have regular Assault Intercessors in there or Crusader Squad and they would get +1. So I guess that's what Games Workshop was figuring people would do, but I feel like those units don't need as much help getting where they need to go as the Sword Brethren squads. And then, even though the detachment says that I get the benefit when I hop out of a transport, only Land Raiders have the Assault Ramp rule, which lets me charge after disembarking. So even though the detachment is open-ended, when you get into the nitty-gritty of the rules, it's actually very prescriptive of exactly what the detachment is leading you to do. At Black Templar, it's been a wild ride since the Codex has come out, but this is a fun little treat. And you know what else is a fun treat? All of the amazing hobby products available from EonsOfBattle.com. Over there, we're all restocked on our excellent hobby goodies. Gamer's Grass Tops, Greytide Studio Bits for your Space Marines, Army Painter paints, brushes, basing cork, ultra thin and ultra thick super glue, and we've got terrain. It's the best way to support us doing what we do by getting a membership. Each month, members get a credit good for any one terrain pack we've ever made, or the brand new one. This June, we have created the Ramshackle Bits pack. This set is full of improvised armor to enhance your vehicles, with massive treads, extra armor, rotating cannons, machine gun turrets, and little goblin gunners, including a bunch of little goblins to help keep all this upgraded equipment running smoothly. Don't let the shoddy construction fool you, these bits are still plenty lethal, able to sling lead and crush foes under tread. This set comes with a series of basing bits to litter the wasteland of your battlefield, and was designed by us and is available at EonsOfBattle.com. Oh, the Black Templars! 11th edition is kinda out right now. We don't have every single rule. I don't know why Games Workshop is still drip feeding some of the things. We don't necessarily know exactly how army construction is going to work, but we do have all of the core rules, all of the army rules, and a pretty good idea of how the game works. So it's kind of now we're just in that weird period of the game is the same but different. And I'm really excited to give it a try and see how it plays. I'm very excited. Thanks for watching.